There is no circuit in the world that demands more from a driver than the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Twisting its way through the dense forests of the Eifel mountains, this monstrous ribbon of tarmac stretches over 22 kilometers and features more than 170 corners, each one a test of nerve, skill, and sheer survival. This is not just a racetrack, it is an unrelenting beast, ready to punish even the smallest mistake with catastrophic consequences. To simply complete a lap here requires absolute commitment. To push for a competitive time in qualifying, that demands something beyond reason, a fearless, almost reckless defiance of danger. This is where the true warriors of Formula One step forward. Those who refuse to lift, who see the blind crests, the high-speed sweeps, and the perilous dips not as obstacles, but as challenges to be conquered. But the Nürburgring does not forgive. It does not grant comfort, nor does it allow a moment of hesitation. It is, without a doubt, the most dangerous circuit Formula One has ever seen. Legends have been made here, but so too have dreams been shattered in the blink of an eye. No driver has ever tamed this place, not completely. Because at the Nürburgring, confidence is an illusion. It is a circuit that takes and takes and takes. Respect is demanded, but fear is inevitable. And that, dear fans, is why we are here. This is what we live for. The thrill, the speed, the danger, the spectacle of man and machine battling the ultimate challenge, knowing that only the bravest will emerge victorious. So brace yourselves as we step into the heart of racing's most fearsome battlefield. Welcome to the Nürburgring. Welcome to the Green Hell. Two rounds remain in the championship, and the battle for the crown is nearing its boiling point. Peter Collins and Juan Manuel Fangio, separated by a razor-thin margin of just 1 point, are locked in a duel where every lap, every corner, and every second counts. The stakes could not be higher, and here at the Nürburgring, there will be no room for hesitation. A strong result in Germany could be the deciding factor in this relentless title fight. Scuderia Ferrari, well aware of what is at stake, has arrived in full force, fielding an impressive 5-car lineup. Alongside the two title contenders, Peter Collins and Juan Manuel Fangio, are Eugenio Castellotti, Alfonso de Portago, and the returning Luigi Musso. Musso, having spent months recovering from his devastating crash during the 1,000-kilometer race in May here on the Nürburgring, is now ready to make his long-awaited comeback, though whether he is fully fit for the unforgiving Nürburgring remains to be seen. Understanding that every mechanical detail could prove decisive on this treacherous circuit, Ferrari took the unusual step of arriving early for pre-race testing. Engineers and drivers pored over gear ratios and power curves, ensuring their machines were finely tuned for the daunting demands of the Green Hell. But even with the best preparation, one thing remains certain. Mastering the Nürburgring is a challenge no amount of fine-tuning can fully prepare for. Standing against Ferrari's might is the formidable squad from Modena, Maserati. Armed with 4 works entries, the Italian marque is prepared to take the fight to the prancing horse. Sterling Moss, John Behra, Cesare Perdisa, and Chico Godia will each take to the Nürburgring behind the wheel of the trusted 250F, still running on conventional carburetors. Though not as numerous as Ferrari's fleet, Maserati's machines are proven contenders, capable of fighting at the front. For Moss and Behra, however, this race is about more than just pride. While they are still in mathematical contention for the world title, their chances are slim. The gap to the leading Ferrari duo is significant, and anything less than victory here in Germany would all but end their hopes. The task ahead is clear: win or watch the championship slip away. Beyond the works teams, a fleet of private Maseratis swells the grid, proving just how dominant Modena's influence is on this entry list. No fewer than 10 private machines will take the start, each piloted by a driver eager to make their mark on the most treacherous circuit in the world. The Scuderia Centro Sud outfit fields Harry Schell. Scuderia Guastalla entrusts Umberto Maioli, and veteran Luigi Villoresi takes the wheel of Ottorino Piotti's 250F. Meanwhile, familiar independents, Louis Rosier, Horace Gould, Bruce Halford, Roy Salvadori, and Ottavio Volontario, each bring their own Maseratis to the fight. With 19 entries, Maserati's presence is overwhelming. The final works team on the grid is the ever-resilient French outfit, Gordini. While their results this season have been modest, their determination remains unwavering. This time, the team arrives at the Nürburgring with two of their trusted regulars, Robert Manzon and André Pilet, hoping to extract the most from Gordini's latest brainchild on the unforgiving German asphalt. Joining them is a new face in Grand Prix racing, André Milou, who steps in as the team's reserve driver. A daunting venue for a debut, but if there's one thing the Nürburgring demands, it's bravery. For Gordini, survival alone would be an achievement. A surprising and rather disappointing sight for the German crowd. Neither of Britain's ambitious Grand Prix teams, BRM nor Van Wall, made the journey to the Nürburgring. Just weeks after their spirited performances at Silverstone, the absence of these teams leaves a noticeable void on the grid. For a nation eager to challenge the continental giants, this withdrawal is a setback. The treacherous German circuit would have been a proving ground for British engineering, but alas, their fight must wait for another day.
Willkommen, meine Damen und Herren, zum 18. Großen Preis von Deutschland, hier auf dem legendären Nürburgring. 22,8 Kilometer oder 14,1 Meilen durch die tückischen Kurven und Höhenunterschiede der Eifel. Eine Strecke, die keine Fehler verzeiht und selbst die erfahrensten Piloten an ihre Grenzen bringt. Das Wetter hat in der Qualifikation keine Gnade gezeigt. Regen, Nebel und rutschige Bedingungen machten die Herausforderung noch extremer. Doch auf einer Strecke wie dieser trennt sich das wahre Können von bloßer Hoffnung.
3 practice sessions were scheduled, each long enough to allow drivers to familiarize themselves with the treacherous 22.8-kilometer course. But as if the Nürburgring wasn't already punishing enough, rain and lingering damp conditions ensured that no one could push their cars to the absolute limit. Lap times were nowhere near what the machines were truly capable of, leaving the grid order to be dictated as much by luck and survival as by outright speed. Ferrari, eager to maintain their championship lead, found themselves battling more than just the track. Engine troubles plagued their cars, forcing them to swap in spare power units before they had even set a representative lap time. But the real shock came from Alfonso de Portigo, who was baffled by his sluggish pace, only to discover that the rear of his chassis frame had snapped clean off. This discovery sent Ferrari mechanics into overdrive, stripping every car down for a full inspection. Reinforcements were welded around the shock absorber mountings to prevent further structural failures. If there was any doubt about Juan Manuel Fangio's skill in the wet, the reigning champion put them to rest in the most spectacular fashion. Fangio is flat out, every fiber of his being fused with the machine as he hurls it down the longest straight of the Nürburgring. The V8 screams at full song, the wind tearing past as the Argentine maestro pushes beyond the limits. Speed climbs relentlessly, 160, 170, 180 miles per hour. Every bump, every twitch of the wheel demanding absolute precision. Yet the spectacle wasn't his alone. Peter Collins was right there with him, matching the maestro corner for corner, drifting his Ferrari through the mist and shadows of the Eifel forest. It was a mesmerizing duel, but the stopwatch had the final say. By a razor-thin margin of 0.3 of a second, Fangio snatched pole position, proving once again that in Formula One, experience and raw bravery are often the only difference between first and second. Third on the grid was Eugenio Castellotti, who showed that he too was unafraid of the challenge, trailing the leading duo by only 3 seconds. But over at Maserati, the mood was far less optimistic. Their cars simply weren't as settled through the Nürburgring's endless curves. Stirling Moss did all he could, but his best effort left him stranded in fourth, a crushing 12 seconds adrift of Fangio. Worse still, Maserati's other works drivers, Gianbera, Cesare Perdisa, and Chico Godia, were nowhere near the fight at the front, lapping more than half a minute off the pace. They could only muster 6th, 8th, and a disastrous 16th. Curiously, it was two privateer Maseratis that kept the factory team honest. Umberto Maioli and Roy Salvadori wrung every ounce of speed from their Modena-built machines, securing 7th and 9th respectively. As for the lone French effort, the Gordinis, well, it was an unmitigated disaster. The best they could manage was 15th and 18th, and for André Pillet, qualifying ended in pain. He crashed heavily in practice, injuring his knee in the process. After 3 days of relentless rain, the Nürburgring awoke to an unfamiliar sight: sunlight. The storm clouds had finally retreated, leaving behind a dry track bathed in golden light. For the drivers, it was a welcome relief. For the fans, it was a promise of pure, unfiltered speed. The grandstands were overflowing, packed to the brim with tens of thousands of eager spectators who had endured the miserable weather in anticipation of this very moment. Among the honored guests in the paddock stood a young royal, Juan Carlos of Spain, watching with fascination as the world's greatest drivers prepared for battle. But Sunday morning brought last-minute changes to the lineup. Cesare Perdisa, having suffered injuries in a sports car crash just days before, was forced to withdraw, his Maserati seat taken by Umberto Maioli. Over at Gordini, the situation was even more desperate. André Pillet was deemed unfit to race. His replacement is reserve driver André Milou, a man who had never even turned a single lap of the Nürburgring. A driver arriving at the deadliest track in the world without a single second of preparation. Today, that would be unthinkable. In 1956, it was simply another Sunday at the Nürburgring.
Auf der Pole-Position Juan Manuel Fangio im Ferrari. Der argentinische Meister zeigt einmal mehr seine überragende Klasse auf dieser legendären Strecke. Neben ihm, nur 3 Zehntelsekunden dahinter, Peter Collins, ebenfalls im Ferrari. Der junge Brite bleibt Fangio dicht auf den Fersen. Auf Platz 3, Eugenio Castellotti im dritten Ferrari, 3,2 Sekunden zurück. Scuderia dominiert die erste Startreihe. Platz 4 geht an Sterling Moss im Maserati, 12,2 Sekunden hinter der Polezeit. Der Brite hat heute eine schwierige Aufgabe vor sich. Und auf Platz 5, Luigi Musso im vierten Ferrari mit einem Rückstand von 29,1 Sekunden.
The drivers are about to embark on a grueling test of endurance and bravery. 22 laps of the fearsome Nürburgring, stretching over 501 kilometers. This is no ordinary race. It's a battle against the track itself.
Das Feld ist bereit, die Motoren heulen auf. Der große Preis von Deutschland steht kurz vor dem Start.
Collins makes a blistering getaway, seizing the lead as the field charges into the first corner. Right on his heels, Fangio is already turning up the heat, shadowing his teammate with relentless pressure. Further back, Bera and Salvadori launch themselves into the fight, surging through the pack to claim 4th and 5th place respectively. Meanwhile, Musso struggles off the line, losing ground and tumbling down to 8th, a costly start on a circuit where every position is hard-earned. Castellotti, eager to reclaim his position after losing out to Moss at the start, wastes no time launching an aggressive counterattack on the very first lap. But his ambition outweighs his grip. Pushing too hard, he loses control and spins off the track. In an instant, the young Italian's hopes take a dramatic hit as he drops all the way to the back of the field. As the first lap comes to a close, Villoresi dives into the pits, his Maserati already betraying him. A baffling issue. His spark plugs have worked themselves loose in just a single lap. The mechanics scramble to fix the problem, but the damage is done. By the time he rejoins the race, the Italian finds himself dead last, with a mountain to climb. By the second lap, the two leading Ferraris have already carved out a comfortable gap from the rest of the field. Fangio and Collins are pushing as hard as they dare, hurling their machines around the treacherous Nürburgring with unrelenting pace. Flat out from the start, the championship rivals are in a league of their own, leaving the chasing pack struggling to keep up. On the third lap, the fierce fight for fifth place comes to an abrupt end as Roy Salvadori's rear suspension gives out. After a strong start and an impressive charge through the field, the Englishman is forced to pull off, his race over far too soon. With Salvadori out of the picture, Alfonso de Portago inherits fifth place. By the fourth lap, Fangio and Collins have ascended to an entirely different level. Their duel at the front is so relentless, so merciless, that the rest of the field is nowhere to be seen. The two Ferraris tear through the Nordschleife like predators in pursuit, each driver pushing the absolute edge of his machine. Still on the fourth lap, trouble strikes the Maserati camp. Horace Gould's machine suddenly loses oil pressure, forcing him to pull off and retire before his engine meets a fiery demise. Almost simultaneously, Umberto Maioli battles a worsening steering issue, his Maserati becoming more and more unmanageable with every twist and turn of the treacherous circuit. Eventually, there's nothing left to fight. He coasts to a halt. His race is over. Lap 5 claims another victim, and this time, it's one of Ferrari's own. Eugenio Castellotti, already fighting his way back from his first lap spin, suddenly finds his engine misfiring. The culprit, a faulty magneto. The Ferrari stutters, loses power, and within moments, his race is over. A frustrated Castellotti pulls off, stays in the cockpit, hands gripping the wheel in frustration, but there's nothing he can do. For the young Italian, the Nürburgring has been nothing short of a nightmare. Lap 6 sees Luigi Musso making an unscheduled stop. Something isn't right with the Ferrari's engine, and the team calls him in for a quick check. The mechanics swarm over the car, their hands working fast but precise. There's no room for hesitation. Moments later, Musso is sent back out, his position still intact. Incredibly, despite the stop, he hasn't lost sixth place. A brief delay, but at the green hell, every second spent stationary feels like an eternity. But Musso is visibly off the pace, struggling to match the speed of the front-runners. Seeing this, Ferrari's team manager makes a bold decision. He signals for a driver change, planning to put Castellotti in the car. But just as everyone expects Musso to pull into the pits, an unexpected twist unfolds. A Ferrari coasts in slowly, but to everyone's surprise, it's not Musso behind the wheel. It's Peter Collins. As soon as the car comes to a stop, the Englishman slumps over and faints, completely drained. Just as Castellotti is getting settled, Musso finally arrives at the pits. This throws everything into disarray. Castellotti abandons Collins's car and switches to Musso's, hastily strapping himself in before rejoining the race. Meanwhile, Collins eventually regains consciousness, and the mystery of his fainting spell is solved. He reveals that right from the start of the race, a crack had developed in the fuel line, allowing gasoline fumes to seep into the cockpit. Lap after lap, he unknowingly inhaled the toxic vapors, gradually becoming dazed and disoriented. By the 9th lap, his vision blurred, his mind fogged, and he found himself struggling to shift gears properly. He barely managed to keep the car on track before making his way to the pits just in time. Amid this whirlwind of drama in the Ferrari garage, Juan Manuel Fangio capitalizes on the situation, strengthening his lead at the front. Stirling Moss moves up into second place, while Castellotti, now back in action, fights his way back into fifth. But after some much-needed rest, Peter Collins regains his strength, and with it, his hunger for the fight. The championship is on the line, and every lap matters. The Ferrari team management wastes no time. A decisive call is made, and Alfonso de Portigo is ordered into the pits. Without hesitation, the Spaniard surrenders his car, stepping aside for the greater cause. There's no protest, no second guessing, just quiet obedience to the Scuderia's wishes. It's a remarkable display of loyalty from de Portigo, a driver who has already proven himself to be more than just another man in red. On lap 12, Eugenio Castellotti's race goes from bad to worse. Pushing hard to recover lost ground, the young Italian oversteps the limit once again. Another spin. This time, however, fate is crueler. The engine stalls as he slides to a halt, leaving Castellotti stranded. There's no hope of restarting. His race is over. Sitting motionless in his Ferrari, he can do nothing but take in the harsh reality. The Nürburgring is relentless, and today, it has claimed him. On lap 13, disaster strikes for Jean Bera. A broken fuel tank strap forces the Frenchman to slow down and dive into the pits for urgent repairs. The Maserati mechanics scramble to secure the tank, but precious seconds slip away. Meanwhile, Peter Collins, now in full attack mode after taking over de Portigo's Ferrari, sweeps past and moves up another position. Bera, once in the fight for a podium, now faces an uphill battle just to stay in contention. As Collins pushes harder to close the gap to Moss, the pressure mounts. And then it happens. A mistake. The Ferrari snaps out of control, and Collins spins off the circuit in a cloud of dust and rubber smoke. For a moment, it looks like disaster. But luck is on his side. No injury. The impact has damaged the car, badly enough that there's no way to continue. Collins climbs out, his title hopes shattered in an instant. On lap 17, Juan Manuel Fangio knows that every single point matters in this championship battle. Pedal to the metal, he dances with the Nürburgring's unforgiving curves, shaving away every unnecessary fraction of a second. He records the fastest lap of the race, 9 minutes 41.6 seconds. It's a staggering achievement, 10 seconds faster than his own pole position time. The Argentine maestro is in a league of his own, defying logic, fear, and mechanical restraint to stamp his authority on the race. This is Fangio at his most ruthless, a daredevil with an unbreakable will, chasing perfection on one of the world's most brutal circuits. With just 2 laps remaining, disaster looms over Stirling Moss. The gearbox on his Maserati starts making ominous grinding noises, a clear sign that something is about to give way. Sensing the danger, the Englishman makes a bold decision. He all but abandons the gear lever, keeping the car in a high gear to nurse it home. Fangio, delivering yet another masterclass, is the first to take the checkered flag, securing a landmark 20th career victory. A defining moment in Grand Prix history, this triumph cements his legacy and raises the bar to almost unreachable heights for those who dare to follow in his footsteps. Moss, wrestling his ailing Maserati to the very end, just manages to drag it across the line in second place. This season has been a relentless struggle for the Englishman, every point hard-earned, but at long last, he secures a well-deserved podium finish. Jean Bera takes third place, a testament to his remarkable consistency this season, his 4th podium finish so far. 4th and 5th place go to Godier and Rosier, 2 veterans who masterfully endured the brutal demands of the Nürburgring. For Godier, this marks his first ever championship points in Formula One, while Rosier returns to the top 5 for the first time since 1951, a long-awaited resurgence for the Frenchman. As the dust settles on the Nürburgring, the World Championship enters its final act. 1 race remains, and with it, a championship fight that now seems all but decided. Juan Manuel Fangio, with 30 points, has tightened his grip on the title. The Argentine maestro has been untouchable in the second half of the season, delivering blistering speed when it mattered most. For Peter Collins, the dream of becoming world champion now hangs by a thread, an impossible scenario that would require nothing short of a miracle. Trailing by 8 points, his only path to glory is clear. Victory at Monza, and for Fangio to falter, finishing with no more than 3 points. In that case, both men would stand equal at 30 points, but Collins would snatch the title on countback. Every detail will matter, and the fight for the fastest lap bonus could be decisive. But after watching Fangio's display of dominance at the Nürburgring, the weight of reality must be unbearable. For John Behrer and Sterling Moss, the battle is already lost. With only the best 5 results counting towards the championship, neither man can overhaul Fangio's total. The title fight is now down to just 2 men. And with that, the 1956 German Grand Prix comes to a close. But it's not over yet. One last race remains, Monza. And this year, the fearsome oval is back in play. Peter Collins faces an impossible task, but the championship is still mathematically within reach. The final chapter of the 1956 season is set. One last chance, one last race. Monza awaits.